mistaken, Lin the Old Thief's punishment involves pain. And this map should be a separate instance. When a player dies in it, the pain feedback is transmitted through bone conduction. The only thing we don't know is how high Lin the Old Thief set the pain level. But judging by this guy's expression, it probably isn't low. After hearing this player's analysis, others began to notice as well. With each death of the player from the Cherry Blossom Country, their face showed more pain and paleness than before. This is a space where players automatically respawn without needing to be controlled. Hiss. This move is quite ruthless. Not only are you locked in a small dark room, but you also have to suffer while experiencing the joy of respawning. I have to say, Lin the Old Thief is indeed ruthless. And also quite clever. This friend is right. At this moment, Zhang Tai, who was standing there, began to explain. The Dark Domain is a special area located in the Ruins mountain range at the center of the 4 major cities. Anyone who is expelled or exiled there can never escape, and they will also never truly perish. Hiss. Upon hearing the words of this Iron Tower-like man, the netizens were all stunned. So terrifying. Truly terrifying. Isn't this a permanent account ban? No, this is even worse than a ban. A ban directly cuts off your hopes. But this still gives you a chance to log in. Only, when you log in, you either get killed or get killed. This means not only is your account ruined, because of the real name system, you even lose the qualification to play games in this genre. Watching the king of the Cherry Blossom Country repeatedly evaporate under the pressure, netizens shuddered. It was only then that they realized, compared to Lin Fei, they had been too lenient. Meanwhile, those netizens with ulterior motives also had to reconsider. The games in this genre are not without profit. Moreover, the benefits are quite high. People in this world will never complain about too much profit. But, if just a little extra profit costs you your qualification, that approach is indeed unwise. Thinking of this, those who tasted the sweetness in the games decided to abandon their crooked thoughts. They resolved that from now on, they would sleep late, wake up early, and work hard. As for that old player from the Cherry Blossom Country, he was tortured to the point of having to log off. He was sweating profusely from the pain, and if he didn't log off, he might really be in trouble. With the opponent logged off, the audience lost interest. Haha. Brothers, I found the entrance to the game. Still saying this isn't a game. I'm in the game lobby right now. Hurry up, it's amazing here. Just as everyone was about to leave, a broadcast suddenly sounded. Hearing that annoying voice, Sister Zhou's expression turned strange. What now? Chapter 200 New Game. The eve of the nuclear explosion in the wasteland in the game, there is a broadcasting function. Of course, to maintain order. The broadcasting feature cannot be used casually, and there is no need to spend money. You just need to meet the qualifications and have the corresponding points. At this moment, a wealthy player with the necessary qualifications and points is standing at a doorway, smiling as he watches 2 girls enter. Haha, Sister Zhou. I heard someone say they logged in the earliest, but they were the slowest to leave the novice village. I wonder if that's true? Seeing Sister Zhou and little Tuan Tuan, the chubby guy known as Sa Zhu approached with a mischievous grin. Looking at the greasy figure in front of her, Sister Zhou felt an impulse to give him a good beating. However, she chose not to act physically and instead said coldly, "Are you looking to get hurt?" The incident with Jiang Lan seemed to have become a psychological shadow for Sister Zhou. Upon hearing this, Sa Zhu blinked and replied with a friendly smile, "Come on. We're all civilized people. Civilized people don't hit each other." Seeing the smirk on his face, Sister Zhou turned her head away and began to examine the giant hall in front of her. The hall was simply decorated. There was nothing complex at all. In fact, one could say there was nothing. The entire hall was estimated to be the size of 4 to 5 football fields. And in such a vast space, which was over 50 meters high, there were already thousands of users present. Aside from the entrance, there were 4 steel arches standing on the remaining 3 walls. Each arch could accommodate 2 trucks passing side by side. The arches, shining with a dark metallic luster, were engraved with strange patterns that emitted a faint glow. Sister Zhou instinctively walked toward the nearest arch. As she stood before the massive metal arch, she suddenly felt small and insignificant. Standing in front of the wide arch, she felt like an ant beside a giant. Slowly withdrawing her gaze, she shifted her attention to a device next to the arch getting closer. She realized that this device was similar to the one she had checked in with earlier. It also had a huge touch screen. Seeing this, she instinctively touched the screen to activate it. The screen lit up, displaying an introduction that caught everyone's attention. Legend VR, open free world. This world has been ravaged by a virus, leading to global extinction. It is a world occupied by monsters known as night demons. Players can choose to enter alone or in teams. Players with carrying devices can bring everything inside back to their player kingdoms. This introduction completely clarified the previously vague concept of player kingdoms. The entire description was incredibly detailed. Wow, is this for real? This seems too amazing, right? This arch is the gateway to the game world? I'm on my knees. I can finally experience a crossover in my lifetime. Yeah, a crossover is fine. But don't expect any special advantages. If things go wrong, we might end up in the black domain. Damn it, are you only focused on games? Seeing such detailed information, the netizens besides Sister Zhou were all stunned. Some even sensed a different opportunity from the lines of the introduction. That is to say, the items from the gaming world can be brought into the current player kingdom space. This means that if things can be brought out, they can also be brought in. Compared to the desolate, wasteland-like world of a certain horror game, all the military equipment and weapons in the world of another game remain intact. Although that world has nightmarish creatures more terrifying than zombies. But there is money to be made. In this day and age, what is scarier than being poor? Those free players and studios that have already stepped into a better life thanks to the player kingdom immediately sensed a strong business opportunity. It could even mean, doesn't this suggest that one could go to the world of a certain classic tale, learn some magic, and then sweep across the entire horror game world? Those who thought of this have already begun to take action, searching through the 12 grand doors in the hall for the world of that classic tale. However, the result was quite disappointing, as the game description clearly stated that all items within the game cannot be taken out for now. Upon seeing this message, everyone felt a bit regretful, but it was only a momentary regret. Wow, is this a new game? As the touch screens in front of the 12 arches were activated one after another, someone discovered that one of the screens also had introductory information. Nuclear Wasteland. This world is set before a nuclear explosion, and players will face challenges upon entering. This world is a single-player experience, and players will randomly generate an identity. You could be a millionaire, a drifter, or an orphan. Items in the game can be taken out. I'm stunned. This is a big move from the game developer. Indeed, while others take 10 years to perfect their craft, this developer seems to be creating 10 games in a year. It hasn't been long since the developer showcased the classic tale, and here they are with a new game already. This news undoubtedly caused another wave of excitement on social media. Some netizens even left comments below. Developer, can we slow down a bit? We don't need so many games. Don't wear yourself out, or we won't have anything to play later. Yeah, even a production team donkey wouldn't be work this hard. Please take a break. If it's too much, just find a girl and settle down. I'm the host of an island, and I sincerely invite the developer to visit my island. All expenses covered. Compared to the netizens in the region, those foreigners who have circumvented restrictions and are lurking in various streamers' chat rooms have tears on their faces. Why? Why is the developer from this region? Why aren't we from this region? This is discrimination, outright discrimination. No, this has nothing to do with the developer. It's all the fault of that damned game association. These foreign friends. Just thinking about how they are being kept out of the player kingdom solely because of the game association fills them with a rage like a volcano ready to erupt. In the past, if a game was unplayable, players could simply choose to play something else. But that was before the existence of a certain gaming community. Now, after experiencing games from this community, looking at other games feels like watching trash. Not only do they not want to play, but they wouldn't even want to take a glance. It's over. This community is toxic. Amidst the howls of foreign netizens, voices from the region of Cherry Blossoms and some others also emerged. Being in the same Asian region, they are not bound by the rules of this gaming association. However, they too cannot access the community's platform. This is blatant discrimination. I strongly condemn this community. The gaming industry should not engage in discrimination. There is no need for special treatment or biased perspectives. I've checked the information. The founder's father is from my country. This person holds great hostility towards the people of my region. I have died several times in the game. It's painful. I want to sue this company and take legal action against them. Meanwhile, in the game hall, a group of players from my region focused their attention on a new game called Wasteland. Even though the entrance to the game world was large enough, it couldn't contain the enthusiasm of the players. As the news spread, more and more people flocked to the game hall. Wow, it's getting crowded. One player looked around at the other netizens and glanced back at her friend. Warning, I'm telling you, stand properly behind me. If someone touches me, you'll be responsible. Another player, hearing this, looked at her in disbelief, feeling exasperated. So no matter who touches you, it's my problem too? He wanted to leave, but seeing the approaching entrance, he thought, forget it. For the sake of the new game, I'll endure. With that thought, his gaze inadvertently fell downwards, and to his surprise, it was quite round. Chapter 201. The little boy's head-on collision, stealing a car. Hey, whose dog is this? It just urinated on my vegetables. Is there anyone in charge? If no one wants it, I'll take it home to cook. Say that again. And you'll be cooking whose dog? The one that just peed on my vegetable stall. What is the problem? Look at my vegetables. They were just picked from the field. Your dog pees here. How am I supposed to sell them? How to sell? Your vegetables are in the field. Aren't they fertilized too? My family uses secondary fertilization. Is that not okay? I haven't even asked you for fertilizer money. Sister Zhou had just opened her eyes when she heard a commotion. The scene before her was quite chaotic. It looked like a small farmer's market. Listening to the argument between the vegetable vendor and a woman walking her dog, Sister Zhou appeared bewildered. If she hadn't clearly remembered that she was previously in a gaming space, she might have mistaken this for the real world. Staring at everything in a daze, she felt as if she had crossed into another world. It was too real. This reality was not merely a simple simulation. Everything felt just as if it were truly happening. The vendors and the woman were arguing, their faces flushed with excitement, just like in a real market. Moreover, there were many passers-by around, all taking photos of the stalls with their phones. Don't panic, just post on social media first. It seems this saying is useful everywhere. Just then, a loud wailing sound echoed across the city. Upon hearing this sound, people instinctively stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky. An air raid siren? Listening to the loud wail that sounded like a broken gong, Sister Zhou suddenly snapped out of her daze. At that moment, she remembered the introduction she had read before entering the game. All players would assume different identities after entering the game and must survive amidst the ensuing chaos. Could it be so unfortunate? Would a fried egg fall here? The thought that the little boy might end up in the same location as her maid sister, Zhou's expression tense. However, at that moment, the roaring broadcast gradually diminished, and another voice emerged. Attention all citizens, this is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Please return home and wait for official evacuation arrangements. Sister Zhou listened for a while and roughly understood the meaning of the message. The gist was that the war situation, which had been ongoing for 2 years, had spiraled out of control, and the area might be struck by missiles at any time. The authoritative voice commanded the city residents to return home and take cover while waiting for official instructions. If she didn't know about the little boy's fall, Sister Zhou might still find a place to hide upon hearing this broadcast. But now, knowing about the little boy, believing that authoritative voice in the broadcast, would be utterly foolish. Whoever wants to believe can do so. She definitely won T. Beep. Nuclear strike, countdown 3:59:59. Just then, the smart bracelet on Sister Zhou's wrist vibrated. Oh no, it's really happening. Only 4 hours to prepare? Seeing the notification, Sister Zhou was taken aback. At the same time, the viewers in Sister Zhou's livestream room also noticed this news. Wow, is Sister Zhou really going to be in trouble? Yes, I have to say, you're really unlucky. You just walked in and are already facing a little boy's attack. Haha, hurry, take a screenshot. Look at Sister Zhou's expression. In fact, 4 hours is not enough preparation time at all. That's a little boy we're talking about. Not to mention Sister Zhou. Even a well-trained soldier would probably struggle to escape in this situation. Escape? Hurry, find the subway. With the depth of the subway in reality, it can completely avoid the little boy. However, the radiation problem later on is a concern. Everyone knows that. But how could the game designed by the tricky old man let you pass just by avoiding? I believe the tricky old man gave players 4 hours to prepare for a reason. Watching the viewers discuss in the live stream, Sister Zhou didn't interrupt this time. Instead, she gradually calmed down. 4 hours sounds like a lot. In reality, it's not nearly enough. Before she could hide, she needed to prepare some supplies. It would be fine if the little boy didn't come to her area, but if he did, she might be buried alive. Normally, a game shouldn't throw players into chaos right from the start. But what the actual situation is, no one knows. Right now, she could only assume she wasn't in the nuclear explosion center, so preparing based on that wasn't too difficult. But, feeling her pockets, apart from a phone, there was nothing else. Her pockets were empty, cleaner than her face. How can she prepare without money? The missile is coming, run. Hey, who picked up my shoes? Hey, why are you taking my stuff? Stop right there. Just as Sister Zhou was pondering what to do, the farmer's market had already turned chaotic. Whether it was the casual shoppers or the vendors, everyone was rushing out in a panic. Many valued their lives, but even more valued money. As soon as they heard that an attack could happen at any moment, those who loved money rushed to load their goods onto trucks or into their houses. Meanwhile, some people took advantage of the chaos to loot. Ah, you scoundrels. My fruits. Get lost. Hurry up and get out. Before long, a fruit store on the street was completely emptied by looters. The chubby owner in a floral apron sat in front of the door, crying loudly. $0 shopping? Seeing this situation, Sister Zhou's eyes sparkled. Having played survival horror games before, she exclaimed, I'm experienced. This kind of operation was all too familiar to her. Although there were staff in the city's supermarkets at this time, for hours later, it would enter wasteland mode. Even if she stole, what would it matter? Having experienced the brutal world of a biochemical crisis, the characters, including Sister Zhou, have undergone subtle changes in their personalities. To survive, they are willing to do anything. Moreover, this is a game world. Now that the issue of supplies has been resolved, wait, having food alone isn't enough. They also need transportation, otherwise, if there are tasks later, they can't rely solely on their legs. No way. Even with transportation, that's not enough. They must have a city map. They can be unaware of other things, but they must know the location of the subway. No way. Even with these things, it's still insufficient. To survive here, they must have weapons. Firearms might be hard to acquire. They need to get a sharp weapon. But what if a little boy really ends up on her? Were all these preparations for nothing? Sister Zhou felt overwhelmed, thinking she should take this time to prepare thoroughly. Then she thought, what if she finishes all her preparations and a little boy ends up on her? Wouldn't that be all for nothing? Forget it. No more thinking. First, find a means of transportation, then go for zero-cost shopping. After hesitating for a long time, about 10 minutes passed unknowingly. Seeing that the time she had left was dwindling, Sister Zhou made a decision. Under the premise of zero-cost shopping, she must first find a vehicle. Soon, she set her sights on a van parked in front of a shop. Chapter 202. Whip Kick, Groin Strike. The vehicle is a van. Its appearance identical to the ubiquitous models seen in everyday life. The driver is a middle-aged man, stout and greasy, perfectly fitting the vibe of the van. Although at this moment the protagonist does not possess the extraordinary abilities from a certain survival horror scenario, the combat skills honed during that time have become instinctual. Now, even in real life, she could easily handle 2 or 3 young men without breaking a sweat. Hey, are you available for a ride? She smiled and asked the middle-aged man at the driver's seat. What the? The viewers in the live stream room started teasing, thinking she was planning to use her charm. This middle-aged, greasy man was in for a treat. However, the man seemed taken aback by her words and didn't respond with the smile one would expect when faced with a beautiful woman. Instead, he looked at her warily, as if she were a con artist. I'm driving a private vehicle, not for hire. He coldly replied. Huh. The protagonist was momentarily taken aback by his attitude and distant tone. What is going on? Doesn't this guy realize I'm beautiful? Having rehearsed everything in her mind, she never expected such a response. Stunned, she struggled to find her words. After a while, her smile became somewhat stiff. Come on, I can pay you a little extra. The stuff I need to transport won't fit in my vehicle. Can you just help a little? Normally, one would expect a man to show some embarrassment when a beautiful woman pleads earnestly. However, this middle-aged man did not seem to be a typical person at all. He frowned at her pleading expression and bluntly said, this is a private vehicle, not for hire. Understand? Rejected again, she felt a bit embarrassed. Meanwhile, the live stream audience was in stitches. Haha, this is too funny. Looks like her charm isn't working. Yeah, our girl is losing her appeal. I'm tempted to unfollow. Who can blame them? Hey, before you beg, could you take off your outerwear and show a shoulder or something? At least it would score some points. The protagonist rolled her eyes at the comments. Sharing the same surname as a famous writer, she certainly wasn't that kind of shameless woman. Casually glancing at the van, she noticed that apart from the driver and passenger seats, all other seats had been removed. Inside the stripped-down cabin, there was only a large burlap sack filled with something. Seeing her inspecting the back of the van, the middle-aged man's expression darkened instantly, and he snapped, Are you sick or something? Can't you just keep your mouth shut? His sudden anger caused the atmosphere to freeze. The protagonist was caught off guard by his outburst. Originally, her plan was to lure him to a less crowded area and then take the vehicle. Now, it seemed that plan was no longer viable. Then, Sister Zhou glanced around, and in just a short while, the entire market was almost deserted, except for a few shops still packing up. Looking at the large market with no more than 10 people, she immediately changed her mind. Time was limited. She couldn't afford to waste it here. With that thought, she wiped the smile off her face and pointed angrily at the middle-aged man, saying, If you don't want to pull it, then don't. What are you blabbering about here? Do you believe I can teach you a lesson in no time? Wow, that's the vibe. Is this the Sister Zhou I know? Haha. See what I told you? Old habits die hard. It only took 2 sentences to expose her true self. Honestly, it's more comfortable to see her like this. As the atmosphere shifted, viewers in the live stream started flooding the comments. For them, this version of Sister Zhou was the one they recognized. The middle-aged man seemed taken aback by her boldness. He looked stunned by the insults. But soon, he snapped back and angrily shouted, You little brat. Who are you talking about? Talking about you. You. Sister Zhou didn't back down and retaliated directly. She even kicked the passenger door a couple of times. At this point, the market was nearly empty. Even the few shop owners closing up had lost interest in selling under the constant threat of missiles. With no one around, the middle-aged man also realized the situation. A predatory glint began to appear in his eyes as he looked at Sister Zhou. Unconcealed malice was evident. Oh no, she's in trouble. Sister Zhou, hurry up and leave. This guy's gaze is off. Yeah, I think this guy is up to something. Oh man, don't be so blunt, upstairs. I see this big brother is a kind-hearted person, wanting to leave a way out for Sister Zhou. You guys are real fans. If it weren't for the situation, Sister Zhou would have immediately fired back at those comments. However, at this moment, she had no mood to deal with them. As the malicious expression on the middle-aged man's face grew stronger, he opened the car door and got out. Oh crap, this is serious. There's a gun in the passenger seat. What the heck? Is Sister Zhou lucky or what? just as the middle-aged man opened the door. Viewers in the live stream, including Sister Zhou in the game, all noticed something in the passenger seat of the van. It was a gun, a shotgun. At that moment, all the young people in the country had played survival horror games. They were no longer unfamiliar with firearms. When they saw that shotgun in the passenger seat, everyone recognized it as the real deal. Driving a van, and there's a gun in the passenger seat? This definitely isn't standard for normal people. Fortunately, seeing that Sister Zhou was just a woman, the middle-aged man didn't pay attention and didn't grab the shotgun from the passenger seat. A bulky man glared fiercely at Sister Zhou, saying, "You little brat, I let you go, but you're not worth it. Fine, I won't live much longer anyway. Before I die, if I can have a little fun with a beautiful woman, I can't say life has been too cruel to me." As he spoke, the man slowly approached Sister Zhou. What kind of nonsense is this? Sister Zhou could only roll her eyes at his words. You think you can do something to me? What does that have to do with fate? What do you want to do? Clearly, she could face down a predator. Yet she had to put on a scared expression as she watched the man draw closer. But what could she do? Her skills could only be showcased in a bioweapon crisis. In this wasteland game, she was just an ordinary person. An ordinary, little woman. Seeing Sister Zhou in a panic, the middle-aged man felt nothing but excitement, his guard completely down. A sinister smile appeared on his face. What's wrong? Now you're scared? It's too late. As the words fell, the man stepped forward, his rough, thick hand reaching for Sister Zhou's shoulder. At this sight, a glint of cunning flashed in Sister Zhou's eyes. She replied softly, "Oh really? Then you're also too late." In the blink of an eye, her long, fit leg whipped out like a whip towards the man's groin. All the viewers in the live broadcast were left in shock. If that kick connected, he might not be able to use that part of his body for the rest of his life. Chapter 203. I would call you the fastest, oh my. I just realized that Sister Zhou is actually the toughest one. No kidding, just look at that kick. It's so precise. How many people has she kicked to master this? I think we should call her Zhou One Leg. In the live stream, the audience watched in shock as Sister Zhou executed her kick with silky smoothness, causing chills to run down their spines. Amidst the attention of many, bang. A sound resonated through the entire live stream, sending shivers down everyone's hearts. Male viewers were so startled that their phones nearly slipped from their hands. How painful must that be? Those with better sound quality on their phones could faintly hear the sound of something breaking. The middle-aged man who got kicked instantly turned a deep purple, his expression of pain more intense than if he had just lost a loved one. The kind of pain he was feeling, let me tell you. Even a monk from a renowned temple wouldn't be able to endure it. What kind of good person could deliver such a kick? The middle-aged man let out a scream that echoed like a slaughtered pig. He clutched his groin and rolled around on the ground in agony. His pitiful appearance made the viewers in the live stream exclaim in shock. Their eyes were filled with sympathy. No one expected that this woman, who looked like a decent person, was actually not one to mess with. This was definitely a brutal kick. Meanwhile, in the game, Sister Zhou looked at the writhing middle-aged man on the ground, feeling a twinge of reluctance. But then she pressed down again. In her mind, there were only two types of people who carried guns, officials and violent criminals. This middle-aged man, from his appearance and demeanor, did not seem like a good person. If she were facing an ordinary person, Sister Zhou might have held back. But now, facing what could be a criminal, it was only right to be tougher. Time was pressing, and with everything figured out, Sister Zhou did not hesitate to lift her foot and kick towards the middle-aged man's head once more. This kick was even more forceful than the last. If it connected, he might end up with a concussion. Stop! Just as Sister Zhou was about to make contact, a furious shout came from behind her. She was startled, but her foot had already gained momentum, and it was too late to pull back. At the moment the voice fell, she felt a firm impact beneath her foot. Bang! Ignoring the shout, her kick landed squarely on the middle-aged man's head. The voice behind her seemed just as shocked that she didn't pull back, and upon seeing the middle-aged man bleeding from his mouth and nose, an angry curse erupted behind her. Damn it! Bang! A loud sound echoed through the empty market, and Sister Zhou, still in her kicking stance, looked down in shock. Her white t-shirt was instantly stained red with blood. Right at her chest, there was a bloody hole the size of a fist. Damn it! I've been shot. Does this guy have accomplices? Seeing the blood hole torn open by a bullet in her chest, Zhou Jie surprisingly remained calm, quickly processing the situation as she looked at the middle-aged person in front of her who had lost consciousness. She never expected that her impulsive decision to steal a van would lead to such bad luck, encountering an armed assailant. And to make matters worse, the assailant had accomplices nearby. Damn it! How humiliating. As her vision began to blur, Zhou Jie felt a deep sense of injustice. She had entered the game world, survived nuclear explosions and radiation, but was instead shot dead by a thug. This was pure humiliation. The viewers in Zhou Jie's livestream were equally stunned by the sudden turn of events. What the heck? Is this really it? For those upstairs, you're not mistaken, she's gone. And it's the fastest death on the entire internet. What the hell is happening? Did she hit a trap? Or is it a surprise? Who knows? But it has to be said. The design by the game creator is always unexpected. Who would disagree? If Zhou Jie hadn't thought about robbing the van, she wouldn't have encountered the thug, right? Doesn't that mean this plot has no significance? Brothers, seeing this plot, I suddenly thought of a question, and that is quantum entanglement. What the heck? You really can connect anything. In a game, you're bringing up quantum physics. Do you think I have an elementary school education? No, absolutely not. I just want to say, is there a possibility in the game plot designed by the creator? If you don't pay attention, it won't develop. But some things only develop according to the design once you start paying attention. What are you talking about? I can't understand it all. Seems like my college education was for nothing. But it must be said, Zhou Jie's death was truly unjust. She completely brought this upon herself. I think Zhou Jie needs to take revenge. Otherwise, that is not her style. As the viewers in the livestream pointed out, faced with the ridicule and public opinion, Zhou Jie was filled with anger. She never thought that just stealing a car would lead to this. Dying like this was simply too unfair, and she couldn't swallow this resentment. No way. She had to get that car today. And she was going to deal with that person. She must kill him. Revenge. She had to take revenge. Looking at the blurry scene in front of her, Zhou Jie struggled to control her body and turned around to see who had killed her. But when she saw the target, she was disappointed. The image in front of her was fuzzy and unclear. She couldn't see the person's face at all. She could only discern from the outline that it was a person. Thus, with a strong obsession and hatred, Zhou Jie returned to the game lobby. Wait, Zhou Jie. Didn't you just enter? A viewer waiting in line, surprised to see Zhou Jie coming from behind, asked. Upon seeing this somewhat familiar viewer bring up an unrelated topic, Zhou Jie's expression darkened immediately. What the heck? Can't I restart if I had a bad start? Hearing Zhou Jie's words, the viewer's face turned slightly awkward as he muttered softly. Could it be that she died? Moreover, everyone's game character is fixed, so starting over wouldn't help. You talk a lot, don't you? If you don't speak, no one will think you're mute. Sister Zhou, feeling frustrated, angrily bypassed the other person and walked directly to the front of the line. With her assertive demeanor, she forcefully cut in. Once back in the game world, the familiar noisy environment and the bustling market greeted her. She paid no attention to the arguing vendors and the lady walking her dog. Instead, her focus was entirely on the spot where the van had previously parked. As her gaze shifted, she spotted a van slowly driving into the market. Approaching the earlier parking spot, it was still one person. Inside the entire van, only that heavy-set man was there. At the same time, as Sister Zhou was watching the van, the middle-aged driver seemed to sense something. He looked over at Sister Zhou through the half-open window. Their eyes met, and Sister Zhou's heart skipped a beat. Previously, she hadn't paid much attention to him, but now she noticed that the man staring back at her had eyes filled with rage. Looking into his eyes was like seeing a cornered beast. Could this really be the person she had kicked earlier? Remembering how easily she had defeated him before, Sister Zhou began to doubt herself. Suddenly, the wailing alarm sounded again. The alarm jolted Sister Zhou awake, and she quickly averted her gaze, a flash of determination crossing her eyes. No matter what, she must take revenge. And she must seize that car. Even if someone divine intervened today, they wouldn't stop her. Even if a little boy fell from the sky, she would see it through to the end. Chapter 204, Sister Zhou. I swear to the heavens, it wasn't intentional. The alarm sounded as expected, and the farmer's market descended into chaos once again. Seeing this, Sister Zhou's eyes flashed with determination, and she immediately moved toward the van amidst the turmoil. After all, she didn't have much time left. Since that was the case, it was better to act quickly. Her plan was simple and quite brutal. That was to grab the shotgun from the passenger seat and directly eliminate the opponent. Yes, just that straightforward. Even if the opponent's companions showed up afterwards, she would still have a weapon in hand to counterattack, or even turn the tables. She had strong confidence in her shooting skills. As long as she could get her hands on the gun, it would be equivalent to being invincible. You bastards. My fruits. Get out of here. Hurry up and get lost. Accompanied by the familiar shrill cries of the plump owner of the fruit shop, Sister Zhou navigated through the chaotic crowd and approached the van. Just as she was preparing to take the next step, she noticed a bare-chested middle-aged man quickly exiting the butcher shop with a sack. Seeing that sack, Sister Zhou couldn't help but pause for a moment, her mind involuntarily recalling the bag she had seen in the van earlier. Consequently, her movements hesitated. At that moment, the middle-aged man in the van seemed to notice something, slightly moving his body as if to place something in the passenger seat. He then stood up and pushed open the side door of the van. That was close. Although the middle-aged man's actions were not suspicious, Sister Zhou still sensed that his slight movement must have been to put the gun in the passenger seat. In that case, didn't it mean that he had been holding that gun all along? In an instant, Sister Zhou's back was drenched in cold sweat, and she regretted her bold actions. If it weren't for this sudden change, she might have been blasted to bits. Just imagining the feeling of a shotgun blast hitting her made her heart race. Fortunately, she hadn't acted yet, as the side door of the van opened,